thank you, Joe. I think we have the best job here at Forward this year because our CFO said, hey, how about you fly to Vegas and tell the story about how you use automation every day on your team. So thank you all for coming. We're really excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you all for that, and thank you, Joe, for the kind introduction.
We look forward to have discussions with you afterwards to get into more details if you like what you see in here. Thank you.
Okay, so you are at the beginning of your automation journey. Step 1, idea. So what do you do when you're not sure where to start? Well, as someone who has grown up in finance, it's my reflex to tell you that there is a spreadsheet for that.
Or Automation Hub, let's say it's a nice tool and it might be used and beneficial for you.
Okay, so you have Automation Hub, but then how do you put the ideas into Automation Hub? Well, I asked my team, what do you dislike the most about your job? What do you put off until the end of the day? What do you find yourself doing at 10 o'clock at night or on the weekend or just, at the last possible moment before a deadline? And I would challenge you to ask your teams, right? What is the most mundane, tedious part of your job? And start there. Then once you've got that great list, right? And I guarantee you it will be a long list if you give yourself and your team members enough time. Then you have to assess, right? You've got all of these ideas, and what do you do? Because Simona's pretty tough, right? So I know that if I want something to get up at the top of the list with the COE, my team and I need to put our best foot forward. So it's my job, leading the procurement team here, to say to my team, okay, show me your best ideas, and now you need to explain them, right? Really fight for your ideas. And I always challenge them. How do you take that further, right? And we go back and forth. And sometimes they hate me for it, and sometimes they love me for it. But I think it's the best way to do it. So forget about tasks, right? Every task needs a partner. How do you put that into a process, right? Because you really want to automate as much as possible. And sometimes if you take those ideas and flush them out, you get together in a brainstorming session and you're putting them all together. So once that list is assessed, I pass it over to my friend Simona, and she takes it from there.
Yeah. Well, the challenge is that I have a lot of data in our finance, and I need to make sure which one is relevant and should be given to Razvan for the automation. So the first thing we do, we look at all the ideas that were submitted in Automation Hub, and we assess who should be the developer of that automation. Of course, it matters how many people are impacted of that automation, how many hours we are saving, whether we are solving some compliance issues, or it's simply a one-time activity that is critical and we really need to automate it ASAP. So that will cut it through the list and go on top. There will be some departments in the F&A that will be more likely to get on top of the list. So depending on how many people are working in there, how critical is the process, they will usually be the top candidates. I mean, order to cash, it will always got it in top of the list. You will have your own priorities, your own strategic projects that you will want to add your automations in there. But there are options. So what are our options? If it's critical, it's important, a lot of people are impacted, that will be on top of the list. And definitely it will be handed over to the COE for the development. For all the others, we will encourage them to use a citizen developer in the department. So anybody can be a citizen developer, and they can try and automate their own process. There might be instances like we are in a fortunate position. We also have a professional services team, so we can assign some of the non-urgent ideas for them to deliver. Some of the areas like integrations, unattended automations, that's quite challenging to build as a citizen developer. So for sure, those will never qualify for the citizen development. But it's very important, you know what was in the morning session, what's important and what's urgent. I mean, in a lot of cases, we need to deliver some automations because they are urgent, and even though it's a one-time activity, we will automate that one. But we always look at the important processes. Where are your bottlenecks, your low-hanging fruits, the automations that will save a lot of time for your teams. And as soon as we make this assessment and do like a top 25 automations that we need to deliver in the next months, then I will hand it over to the CoE so they can do their own assessment and say, yes, this is automatable and this is what we can deliver. So.
And here we come in place as a CoE, and we don't have only the finance automations, we have automations from the entire company. We have automation champions in each department, so we have a full list of prioritization, of ideas that are prioritized to us. And the first step in our journey is to enable the business analysts from the CoE team or start working with the SMEs to see if this is a good candidate for automation. Once this is done, we are moving into the solution architecture phase because we want to have the same style of automating across all departments. It will be much easier for us when we'll do the support in a later phase. Once we cover also the solution architecture part, we try to work in sprints in an agile way, 2-week sprints where we have the planning, we have the sprint retrospective, we have the groomings, we have the daily stand-ups with the entire team. And at the end of every sprint, we try to put something into production or at least to move it into the UAT. Here comes again the business. Business is kept in the loop for the entire journey. They help us during the development. They help us during the UAT because we need their sign-off to be compliant, to have everything in place. And once this is done, we are moving into the go live, the production phase, and we hand it over to the support team, which is also part of the CoE. Of course, we have a hypercare phase, and the hypercare can last, I don't know, depends on the schedules of the processes, can be 1 week if it's a job that is triggered every day or every hour, or it can be 1 month if it's a job that is triggered twice a month. So it's a journey where the business users are kept in the loop all the time. They know what is happening with the automation. They know what's happening with the idea. They know when they have to come in place to help us, and they need to help us with the UAT.
You know what is the challenge? What we usually see when we get to the testing phase, the UAT, you would say, well, that's easy because you know the use cases, you just validate the bot, and it's easy. Well, it's a challenge in finance because they have month-end close, and you cannot plan anything in that month-end. So we try to put some numbers, some targets, how many automations we should deliver on a monthly, quarterly basis. And that plan, it's getting hijacked by the month-end, quarter close, other reporting, and it's huge involvement of the process owner. So you really need to plan well. You can have like a top 25 and have them ready in 2 months, 3 months. But if they don't stay available for the UAT phase, it's a challenge. And that's another challenge as well when they want to change the documentation and what the bot wants to do, because at that point they really see how the bot works and what it can do for them. So they start having ideas. And what we are asking them is, let's deliver the bot as it is now and submit a change request, because otherwise we will never put this one into production and we will keep adding functionalities.
And believe me, this is a challenge because it's happening almost all the time.
Yeah.
I change my mind sometimes, Razvan.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes. And coming forward with this, in 2.5 years, we managed to put in production like 300 processes across all departments, and we managed to save almost 400,000 hours. But this is not only the important part, how many processes we have and how many hours we save. What is really important is that we enable citizen developers, and finance, Simona will tell you about that. It's one of the most important departments in regards to citizen development. And the second and the other point, which is really, really important, is that we are also focused on robot for every person within UiPath. And so far we have almost 80 processes which are made available for the entire company, from people ops, from sales, from finance, so everywhere. And it's not only a robot, it's not only an attended robot, but sometimes we are using also apps, we are using UiPath forms just to enhance our robots and to make the experience much easier and enjoyable for the business users.
And we provide feedback also for our teams. I mean, we are the testers of our own product. And we see all the time if there is something that needs to be enhanced, if we have a trouble, the other will have a trouble as well. The automations that we have currently live are saving us over 80,000 hours per year. Now, this metric, this number, will never contain time saved with integrations. No human would sync a data across systems on an hourly basis or based on a specific event. So I cannot even count the savings in the hours on that part. On the citizen development, we have a lot of automations, like 89 in the FNA. We have departments or teams in like Japan. They barely use the CoE. We usually use the CoE for the global processes, and whatever is region-based in Japanese, they build their own automation. So all the FNA team in Japan is citizen developers. The FP&A team, they are amazing citizen developers. They play with the numbers. They have that focus on getting a lot of reports quickly in a specific pattern format for Excel and for other reports. So they build a lot of automations for their use. And people share these automations amongst each other. So they go to the CoE add some additional functionalities, tiny functionalities, and make the automation available in the entire team. So they can really benefit from that automation. We have some processes which are more suitable for unattended processes, like order to cash. So you don't have like, I need to wait 1 day, 2 days. I don't know exactly when this activity will happen. That needs to go all the time, up and running. So it's one of the most suitable areas for the unattended automation. So we have over 60 processes automated in there. But in the accounting, where things are happening, not in a very tight frequency, we need to be in control and know exactly when to start that automation. So most of the attended processes are in those teams who, yes, they do have a month-end close, but if you just step from one day to the other, your bot cannot be scheduled to work in this way. So they feel the need to be in control.
And I also want to add here that we are not looking also at attended and unattended, but also on hybrid automations, which are triggered from attended ones and then continued with unattended ones. And this makes even better for the user because they don't have to wait for the execution to start, but they just offer their input and then the unattended robot will finalize the work.
Yeah, we started in 2019 with about 50 automations. Most of them were unattended at that time, and they were focused on the order to cash area. But as soon as they saw what you can do with a bot, it created a lot of focus in the teams. Everyone wanted a bot, so the pipeline kept coming and coming and growing because they were submitting ideas like nonstop. And we use the same flow also for the change requests. It's important to measure and to monitor what change requests are coming. So although we are not showing here, we have over 80 change requests to the bots we deployed along the time.
And this is the nightmare of the CoE, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I have colleagues like in controlling who have like huge process design documents. So when they want to change a process, they send like 80 pages of specifics on what exactly they want to change. So for the CoE, it's like building 5 new bots, just updating the one we have in the country pack.
But you have a favorite, Simona. right?
Yeah, I don't. One that is so a bot that is being used by a lot of people, accounting, controlling, FP&A, anybody in the finance team, that will clearly be everyone's favorite. I mean, if I'm looking in the orchestrator or in Insights, I see that the country pack is one of the most used bot.
After the order integration.
Yeah. So if you have a bot in a low-hanging, as a low-hanging fruit you will be targeting, it's good for a process, right? You will get immediate benefit, everybody will be happy. But if you add a group of bots, it will change the way your process looks like. So what we did in order to cash, we have here over 20 automations that are running in each sub-process. From the point that a sales rep is closing a deal, a bot will be triggered and will create a sales order. We'll sync Salesforce with NetSuite. They will issue the bill, they will send it to the customer, even load it on a platform so the customer can get the invoice as soon as possible. We do the cash application. It was assisting them into collection processes. We make visible information like credit and collections, the DMB, suggested credit limit. If a customer is blocked, we will see them blocked also in Salesforce. So a lot of areas which are critical are automated in our case, and this has significantly improved the cycle time, the DSO, the processing time. I mean, for a human, it was taking like 25 minutes to create a sales order. Now it takes like 47 seconds. And it's not a problem in the volume. If you take like 1 month of volume and divide it by, I don't know, by individual, by billing agent, it doesn't look a lot. But if all the sales orders are coming at the end of the month, that's a challenge. So it cannot be handled. And we grew really fast along the time. So we had to come up with solutions and have our O2C best in class.
And because we are almost to the end of the session, I think we should talk about our learnings. And I'll start from a CoE perspective. What we learned in 2.5 years since we are working as a CoE. First of all, you need to build a repository of ideas and of automations. Both bottom-up and top-down are welcomed. The idea is to encourage everyone to bring their ideas, because this is how you will automate more and more, and you will make free time for the people. Another thing that we've learned during this journey was that we have to evangelize the automation. And this can be done easily, not only by the CoE, but also by creating a new role. We called it Automation Champions. Simona here is the Automation Champion for Finance. We have in each department, which is a person that understands what are the business processes inside that team, and also understands what the automation means. And they will help the CoE not only with the prioritization, not only with the assessment, but also to spread the automation idea across that department. Another learning is that you need to empower everyone in the company to feel like they are part of the program. And this can be done not only through UiPath Assistant as their attended body, let's say, but also keeping them in the loop all the time, letting them know what is happening with the automation program, what are the new processes that are available for them, and why not to create a citizen developer program for the tech-savvy ones that want to explore more, to learn more about the automation. And last but not least, purely from a CoE perspective, just put in place a governance. This is really important when you have a huge number of ideas in the pipeline, a huge number of processes into production. This will help to get rid of a lot of blocking points once you have it in place. And you should start thinking at the governance from the early beginning, even if you have a small CoE team, because this will grow along with the CoE team, and it will help after that in the end. So those are the 4 ones from CoE. I will ask Simona to talk about the learnings from the finance team.
We get a lot of questions. So what should we do? Bottom up, top down, implement as soon as possible, citizen developer, get them all. You cannot do just one. So you need top down because you need sponsorship, you need governance, you need somebody to set the priorities, the strategic projects. But on the other hand, the VP, SVP, C-level will never know the struggles the billing people are having. Yes, they will see that things are not delivered on time, but you need to know exactly what is the challenge for the person doing the process. So you need to let them submit ideas, and it will be the automation champion or whoever you'll find fit to decide whether that is automatable or not. Citizen developer, not everything goes to the CoE, so it's good to give them the opportunity to have that bot built by themselves. Waiting for
Thank God for that.
Yeah. Waiting for the perfect process, there is no such thing as a perfect process. You will always change your mind and want to do better and better, and get a new system, a better system. So don't postpone the automation. You can do it as you consider having automations in your process. When you redesign a process, look also for automation potential and opportunities. So you let the people submit ideas, you redesign your processes and add new automations straight away. If it's something for a short period of time, it might be a better option to use a bot for that. Like when we went public. We had for like a very short period of time to review everything that people were selling. We had to stay in a certain threshold. The tools on the market could not allow us handle that. So we built a bot just for the first open trading period, but it was huge for us. Then you need to have goals. Goals for the process owners to submit ideas, goals for the CoE to deliver the ideas. Otherwise, you will not have an automation program. And if you start with your low-hanging fruits and have the quick wins, those will be the best promoter. I mean, when we had the revenue recognition bot, which recognized in like 10 hours, 1 year of revenue, that was huge for the team. We never thought it can be something automatable. So you usually go with an ERP, you spend a lot of time to build that solution. But in some cases, a bot is doing a better job and faster, and it's more flexible. And now, let's see what the process owner is suggesting.
So I became the head of global procurement at UiPath somewhere around this time last year. And that was right before we were about to go public, right before we had this whole new slew of compliance and audit requirements. Oh, and in the middle of a global pandemic, did I start managing people from all over the globe, most of whom had never met each other. So what did we do? Well, I told you, we first started to say, what is the worst or most mundane, tedious part? My own personal prioritization was what keeps me up at night, right? What really scares me? And for me, that was anything related to compliance, right? So we started there. And at a time we were very busy, I made sure to promote and prioritize automations on our own team. So though these are very modest numbers up here, the fact that my scrappy little team is sending out 1 bot a month into production, I think is pretty fantastic. And that's because half of the team are citizen developers. As Simona mentioned before, there are finance teams who get prioritized over the others, and here's a hint, mine is not one of those teams.
Sorry.
Right? So we have to do it ourselves, right? And as leaders, I challenge all of you to say to your teams, let's make time for this because it's really going to help you. And the way we've gotten through this year so far, and I think that we're doing okay, is with the help of these automations. So here are some learnings that I would like you to take with you today. The first is prioritization. We talk a lot about hours saved, right? But please don't discount those other metrics, like taking things off of your plate that make you worry at night, and what helps the happiness of your team, right? Is there something that just makes people feel better that they don't have to worry about or do again? Are there tasks that don't add any value and no one should have to do, right? So prioritize in your own way, in the way that fits your team the best. The next thing is that your automation champions may surprise you. I can tell you that our team, being global, has a very different makeup. And there are decades between our automation champions and citizen developers. So don't count anyone out, right? Where that passion comes from may surprise you. The next thing I'll tell you is that in taking over a global team during a pandemic, you want everyone to get to know each other, right? Collaboration is key. Well, I would get on a Zoom with my whole team and ask them if there were questions or feedback, and I heard crickets. I mean, actual crickets, absolutely nothing. And then we got a brainstorming session together for automation, and they were talking over each other. I thought I was on the wrong Zoom. I mean, they were so excited. So that just really tells you that this is a great way to get people together. And it broke the ice, and they worked better together because of it. And then finally, as Simona alluded to, celebrate everything, right? Cheer people on, keep it front of mind as your team gets citizen developer certificates, as you automate one more thing. You've connected a task and made it a process, right? These are things that you should be really proud of.
Thank you all for joining today's session. If you want to learn more about the CoE, you can follow us on the UiPath blog. We already have 2 blog posts, and we'll continue to publish new blog posts on a frequent basis.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.